The officer's request was simple and direct, designed to isolate the subject. They asked if it was possible to speak with him privately. What followed was an explanation of their presence. The man in question was Anthony Bezio, 66 years old. He remained oblivious to the fact that law enforcement had arrived at his door to confront him about a series of unimaginable actions, a dark digital life that seemed to be closing in. When asked if they could speak to him alone, the woman refused, insisting on knowing the reason for their visit. The officer acknowledged her demand. The woman was adamant, wanting to know immediately. After a brief suggestion that a private conversation might be better, she persisted, and the officer prepared to reveal the nature of their inquiry. The investigation had begun on February 5, 2025, when detectives in the Crimes Against Children Unit received an anonymous tip regarding illicit material being accessed and distributed online. As they delved deeper into the case, the detectives employed a range of investigative techniques that ultimately pointed to Anthony Bezio as the primary person of interest. When they finally visited his residence, the scene they uncovered was profoundly disturbing. The encounter began with a standard, almost casual greeting, as Corporal Carrie Hakes introduced herself and her partner. Her partner, Corporal Grill, offered a simple hello. They stated they were in the area investigating certain types of internet activity. The man acknowledged their statement without expression. The officer confirmed he was the owner of the home. When asked for his name, he replied, "Tony." She pressed for clarification, asking if Anthony was his legal name. He confirmed it was Anthony, his demeanor calm, almost detached, as a dog milled about nearby. The officer then requested his last name. He spelled it out for her, Bisio. The officers took a moment to acknowledge the dog, whose name they learned was Marco. The questioning then shifted to his contact information, starting with a request for a good cell phone number. The man complied. He provided an email address, a58 this. He then completed the address, a58 this at gmail.com. When asked about other email accounts, he mentioned an old one, abisio at yahoo.com, but claimed it was no longer in use. The investigator proceeded to ask for the phone number of the woman in the home, Jean. They confirmed the residents had internet service and inquired about their service provider. The man stated they used Spectrum. He added that they had been customers for years, and the officer noted it was a reliable company. Following these preliminary questions, the man's patience seemed to wear thin, and he finally asked for the reason they were there. The officer first asked how long they had lived at the address, to which he replied, a year and a half. At that moment, the woman, Jean, reappeared. Corporal Hakes calmly reintroduced herself and her partner to the woman. She repeated the official purpose of their visit. They were conducting an investigation into some local internet activity. The officer then reiterated her earlier request, asking the woman if they could speak to the man alone to explain the situation. The woman then challenged them, demanding to see their identification. The officer explained that her ID was in her vehicle, and she would retrieve it. As one officer went to get her credentials, the other waited. She returned, presenting her official badge as proof of her identity. The woman pressed further, asking which department they represented. They confirmed they were with the county sheriff's office. She then asked what, specifically, they were investigating. The male officer explained that it concerned suspicious online activity, but deferred the specific details. He stated that this was his partner's case, but that it was a routine part of their job, something they had been doing at multiple houses all morning. He carefully described the issue as inappropriate internet activity. He elaborated slightly, referring to material that should not be on the internet. He again deferred to his partner for the specific details regarding this particular case. He concluded by speculating that, based on his experience, the issue was likely connected to the internet service at their residence. Her partner, she noted, had all the specific details and the technical data on the matter. This was, they explained, their 8th house call of the day. It was a routine they performed all the time. The man then asked why his home had been chosen. The investigator began to explain the concept of IP addresses, asking the man if he understood the term. He confirmed that he did. The digital trail, the officer surmised, had led back to this very house, though he deferred to his partner for a more precise explanation. She was the one who knew the intricate details of the case file. The man immediately offered a defense. He had not been involved in anything illegal. The investigator's response was chillingly neutral. Okay, that we know of. There was a brief domestic interruption as the man called for his dog, Marco, to get back in the house. his words slightly fumbled. A visible shift occurred in Anthony Bezio's demeanor. He appeared unsettled as the true direction of the investigation began to dawn on him. As the minutes ticked by, his discomfort intensified, a palpable tension growing as he was forced to answer questions in his wife's presence. The dog was a momentary, awkward distraction. He called for the dog again, then cut to the heart of the matter. "So, what's going on?" The answer came back: the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. A final call to the dog, Marco, seemed to punctuate the gravity of the statement. The officer began to lay out the process. When online platforms detect suspicious activity, a report is generated. Those reports are funneled to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children as cyber tips. From there, they are filtered and dispatched to the appropriate agency, in this case, them. They had received one such tip, one that was flagged as being suspicious in nature. Their purpose was to come out and investigate it. The man insisted, "Let me know what it is." The inquiry shifted to his digital life. He confirmed he had social media accounts, specifying that he used Twitter. The officer clarified for the record, "Okay, well, X." He continued listing his online presences, Facebook and Truth Social. He also had an Instagram account, though he claimed to be on it only sparingly. His reason for having Instagram, he stated, was because his granddaughter was on the platform. After a polite acknowledgement from the officer, the man confirmed that was the extent of his social media footprint. The investigator then asked for his username for Twitter, or X. A pause. He needed his phone to be sure, he said, but guessed that it was Angel416, or something to that effect. They confirmed he maintained only a single account on the platform before circling back to his other online identities. The questioning turned to the Facebook account he had mentioned. He explained it was linked to his Google profile under the name A 58 BIO, though he seemed unsure of the exact details displayed there. The investigator clarified the spelling of the username, confirming it was AAL58. The man was then directed to open his Facebook application. As he navigated his phone, he commented on the ease of finding the information. The search continued. Next, he was instructed to find his Instagram profile. "Just anyone could find him," he murmured. He found the account, remarking that he never used it and that the profile was quite old. The officer made a detached observation, noting how common it was for people to create accounts only to abandon them. He was told he did not yet need to hand over his device. As he searched, another detail surfaced. "Oh, wow," he said. "That's a real old email." It was an account he had joined a long time ago, an AOL.com address. The investigator remarked on its age. AOL. Yeah, that's ancient. A strange moment of levity in the tense atmosphere as they recalled the bygone eras of the internet, mentioning a Yahoo account as well. The man shared a brief, odd anecdote about trying to use his AOL email at a Tractor Supply, only to have the young cashier be completely unfamiliar with it. The mood snapped back to the present. The investigator presented the evidence from the tip and asked a direct, piercing question. "Have you ever seen it before?" "No," he replied instantly, then asked for his glasses to get a better look. After a moment, his denial was firm. "No, I didn't." The investigator pressed forward, undeterred. The conversation started with an observation about the couple's beautiful new home. One investigator complimented the wood-look flooring, a detail that seemed to please the wife. She then questioned its material, wondering aloud if it was luxury vinyl or tile. The husband clarified that it was, in fact, tile. He then corrected himself, pointing out that a different section of the house had laminate flooring, explaining that it was already installed when they moved in. The lead investigator shifted the tone, asking if he could speak with the husband first, separately, before talking to his wife. Her response was immediate. She preferred to be present. The officer acknowledged her request without argument. He then began to lay out the reason for their visit, explaining how the initial tip had come in. He stated that the activity in question occurred on September 29th of 2023. Then, he presented an email address and asked the husband if it was familiar to him. The husband claimed he didn't recognize it, at least not immediately. The investigator pressed, asking if it looked like an address he might use. The man's response was non-committal, conceding that it might be his before asking what the address was. The officer read it aloud. Angie.wambelli@outlook.com. The husband claimed he couldn't remember it and was then asked if he had ever used the Outlook email platform. The wife interjected, noting that her husband, a federal employee, was retired before 2023, implying it couldn't have been a work email. The line of questioning regarding his employment status seemed to trail off, unresolved. The investigator then revealed the extent of the data they possessed, mentioning login details and the registration IP address associated with the account. He then asked if the husband recognized anything connected to that account. The man's demeanor changed. He admitted that he did, but when asked if he was comfortable discussing it in front of his wife, the situation grew tense. His answer was a firm no, but his wife immediately intervened, telling him he had better speak up. She warned him that she would find out one way or another. A palpable curiosity grew in Anthony Bezio's wife as she questioned her husband's sudden reluctance to speak in her presence. She became insistent that the officers continue their questioning with her in the room. The investigator tried again to speak with him alone, but she was resolute, demanding to hear what it was about. The husband seemed inclined to let the officers have their way, but his wife cut him off, wanting to know what was going on. The investigator suggested it might be easier for him to talk without her there. Her response was sharp. It was not okay. She told her husband he had to tell her. The officer made one last attempt, explaining that it might be easier on him to tell her later, after they had left. She demanded to know what the issue was. Finally yielding, the investigator asked her what she wanted to know. The address? The complaint? The wife confirmed she wanted to know the nature of the complaint. The investigator turned back to the husband, asking him to quickly explain the account and its contents. The man claimed he no longer had the account. When asked when he had last used it, his answer was vague. He paused, thinking. He estimated it was probably around the time of the incident date, suggesting it had been over a year. The investigator confirmed the timeline, over a year ago. When questioned about the purpose of the account, the husband offered a single, ambiguous word: entertainment. The investigator repeated the word back to him, letting it hang in the air. He then announced he was going to show the husband some photographs, asking him to confirm if he recognized them. He apologized for the blurry quality, explaining they were printed from a copy machine. He further clarified that they were still images captured from videos. He presented the first image. The husband looked at it and acknowledged that he recognized it. A second image was shown. Again, the husband confirmed his recognition. The investigator warned that the next image had been sanitized. He presented the third image. The husband's reaction shifted from recognition to revulsion and denial. He claimed he didn't think he recognized the girl in the picture, then asked what she was supposed to be. He stammered, trying to formulate an explanation. He then constructed a defense, stating that if the image was on his account, it was something he had shared from another source, not something he had generated himself. The investigator immediately honed in on this statement, asking him to elaborate on what he meant by sharing from something else. The husband grew evasive, claiming it was nearly 2 years ago and his memory was unclear. He insisted that he did not go into certain spaces or request material of that nature. When presented with the possibility of having seen the image on the social media platform X, his response was evasive and hypothetical, suggesting he might have acted on it. A veil of uncertainty seemed to descend. Pressed to clarify what acting on it meant, he conceded that it could have involved him posting the material himself. He acknowledged the possibility that he had shared the image, only to retreat behind a claim of having no specific memory of the event. The investigators steered the conversation, attempting to establish the fundamental facts of the case. At this point, a woman interjected, her tone shifting as she grasped the gravity of the situation, requesting a private conversation and stating her belief that they required an attorney. She articulated a gut feeling that legal counsel was now a necessity. The man attempted to reframe his position, insisting he had never knowingly shared any content he believed to be illicit. The detectives listened, letting the statement hang in the air. Their primary concern, they explained, was to verify that he was no longer viewing such material and that it was not currently stored on any of his devices. The implication was clear, and he appeared to acknowledge his understanding. The investigators then made their strategic request. Would he be willing to allow a brief examination of his device to confirm it was clean, presenting it as an easy way to conclude the inquiry? The questioning turned to logistics, asking how he typically accessed the Twitter platform. He admitted to using his iPad, distinguishing it from a cell phone or laptop. When they asked for permission to search the iPad, he gave it without hesitation, stating he did not mind at all. His acquiescence was absolute. He then extended an invitation for the detectives to enter his home. The investigation would later reveal a confession from Anthony. He had, in fact, been viewing child exploitation material. According to official reports, the images cataloged by detectives showed children between the ages of 10 and 13 years old. The search of his devices also uncovered a disturbing collection of videos and pictures involving adults engaged in sexual acts with dogs, a horse, and even a cow. Anthony Bezio eventually turned himself in to the Pineda County Jail on February 5, 2021. The list of offenses also included 12 counts detailing a dark and illicit relationship with the animal world. Behind the closed doors of quiet suburban neighborhoods, a silent battle is raging. We often believe our screens offer complete anonymity, a hidden shield where dark secrets can remain permanently buried. But the truth is far more relentless. In the digital age, there are no true shadows. The investigation of Anthony Bezio stands as a chilling reminder of the monsters hiding in plain sight. It shatters the comforting illusion that heinous crimes only happen in dark alleyways. Today, predators walk among us, masked by incredibly ordinary lives, accessing the unspeakable exploitation of children and the defenseless right from the comfort of their living rooms. But let this stand as a powerful beacon of hope and a stern, uncompromising warning. Justice is always watching. Dedicated cybercrimes units and organizations like the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children are tirelessly tracking the digital footprints of those who prey on the innocent. Every click, every download, and every forgotten email leaves a trail. As a community, we must remain fiercely vigilant. We must protect our most vulnerable, our kids, and those who have no voice. The fight against digital exploitation requires our collective courage, unwavering awareness, and the absolute conviction that the truth will always come to light.